Hey everybody, Chelsea here with Let's Talk. Today, let's break down nouns and dependent prepositions. So we've already talked about verbs with dependent prepositions. Nouns pretty much work the same way. When we have more information after some nouns, we have to use a specific preposition. So, for example, with the noun opportunity, if we want to say what that opportunity is, we'll have to use the preposition for. I got an opportunity for a new job. All right, so this is telling us what kind of opportunity, more information after this noun. We won't always have more information, of course. I could just say, I got an opportunity. And if that's the end of your clause, fine. Period, comma, exclamation point, we're good to go. So let's look at some more examples. More free time is one of the advantages of retiring. So when we want to know what kind of advantage we're talking about, we'll use the preposition of. Advantages of retiring. And one more. I received a reply to my email. So when we have the noun reply, we'll use it with the preposition to, a reply to my email. So more information, we have to use that preposition. So you may have noticed that in English, we have a lot of words that have a noun form and a verb form. So for example, apology is our noun and our verb form is apologize. So sometimes when we have a noun form and a verb form, they'll have the same dependent preposition, like with apology and apologize. I could say, I owe you an apology for breaking your computer. Or I can use the verb form and say, I apologize for breaking your computer. So in this case, the noun form and the verb form use the same dependent preposition of for. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the noun form has a dependent preposition and the verb form doesn't. So with the word need, it's the same in noun form and verb form, but the noun has a dependent preposition. Many cities have a need for architects. So for is our dependent preposition here. But with the verb, many cities need, no dependent preposition, just many cities need architects. So they're not always the same. Another example could be performance has an effect on salaries. Or the verb form of effect is affect. Performance affects salaries. So again, the noun form has the dependent preposition, the verb form doesn't. All right, and finally, some of these nouns we're talking about have different dependent prepositions for different uses. So if we take the noun agreement as an example, I could say, I had an agreement with, and this tells us the person you're agreeing with. I had an agreement with my boss. Or, I had an agreement about vacations. So this tells us the topic of the agreement. With tells us who we're sharing it with. About tells us the topic. I can also combine these. I had an agreement with my boss about vacations. All right, so like a lot of other things in English grammar, it's best to just memorize all the different possibilities. All right, guys, in the comments, tell me something that you have an interest in. This is Chelsea telling you it's not nerdy being wordy. Let's talk again soon.